Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Doku has some things he would like to say. I bet this shocks all of you. But before he does, a word from our sponsor, Goidcoin. It's the one thing that may stop you from being destroyed in the zombie apocalypse. Goidcoin is holding us back. It's stopping the destruction of the zombie apocalypse itself. And I can prove it. Have you seen these zombies? And you're not allowed to include those idiots on the street. Goidcoin is saving your life. All yours, Doku.
Wait, so we have to use Goidcoin in order to save San Francisco?
No. San Francisco's lost. Nobody
yeah.
cares about it.
Yeah, I guess
Apart
we're
from
gonna
that,
have
there's
to
a
write
bunch of
that law.
singers there, and they deserve everything they get.
Oh,
Damn right-wing singers.
that video that is
Mm-hmm.
that was perfect. I will admit that one was good.
I like it.
No, thank you for sharing.
Oh, mate, it's worth dropping the sub on it, even if they only ever put out rubbish from there on. Just that one thing was worth it, and something tells me that they're going to be as dumbass as they are in every other thing that we put in MC show. So, oh boy, it'll be fun.
Just for the audience, the video in question is in regards to a certain choir who was doing a certain song the other day, and there was a satire video about it, claiming it was right wing satire, and then no, it's actually not right wing. Okay, it's Stunning and Brave. So
Shorty. I'm actually going to drop the video link in the chat. If people want to take a look themselves, they are welcome.
So since we're on that topic of conversation, would you rather talk economics first, or would you rather talk hypocrisy first?
Oh, hypocrisy wins always.
All right, we'll go with hypocrisy then. So during MC's show, I had gotten bored and I had found, just because I was curious to see if Sophie had blocked me on Twitter yet. He hasn't. I saw something on his feed that I found worthy of leaving a snarky comment on. According to Sophane, we should stop trying to get white people to take responsibility for systemic racism and blah that they've put in place because they never will. Yada 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 yada. Typical spiel.
Yeah.
So of course my response is, yep. Well, we should also say the same thing about Mongolian Empire, the Roman Empire, Persian Empire, Sumerians, the Egyptians, the Aztec, the Maya, the Inca, and every other culture that's ever existed throughout history that might have maybe some human rights violations within their past, because I'm sure everybody alive today is responsible for the atrocities and human rights violations and every bad thing that happened decades, hundreds, or thousands of years ago. Yes, let's continue to blame people for things they had absolutely nothing to do with.
Doku, if I could just interrupt you for 1 minute, I do need to point out one little thing. And what have the Romans ever done for us?
Oh, I don't know. The Romans and the Greeks definitely didn't have an influence on any modern social or governmental structures that might or might not have led to, I don't know, maybe the abolishment of the same systems that you're complaining about that currently no longer exist because society has actually progressed from that. No, I'm sure that never happened.
I mean, let's be honest. If we really want to look at the Romans, I mean, they created viniculture. For all of these people out there that love their little glass of wine, without the Romans, you wouldn't have it.
Oh, crap.
Technically, without the Romans, you wouldn't have places like LA because you wouldn't have aqueducts. So, when people sit there and do the whole "what the Romans ever done for us" line, point this out to them. This would not be the world we have now by any stretch of the imagination without the Romans.
Well, Jensen, I just realized plumbing, wine, olive
Mm-hmm.
oil, heated baths.
Yep. Oh, I'll go one for you. Ice.
Yep.
You're going to go, no, we'd have had ice because of the north. No, they created ice in deserts. I mean, what more do I need to say?
Well, we have to abolish all that. It's canceled. because it's racist.
It's true. It's true.
It's racist. It was built on it was built on a system that involved slavery, systemic racism.
Yep.
Racist. I mean, I don't know. It's not like the Romans enslaved conquered peoples indiscriminately, regardless of what their religion or skin color was, and didn't offer them a pathway to citizenship, which might or might not have been the foundation for what has happened in the West in regards to abolishing slavery. But let's ignore that inconvenient fact.
They didn't do it. God, I've told you before, slavery never existed before the white man. The American Indians never enslaved the other tribes. The Arabs never enslaved let's face it, the other Arabs. I mean, the Egyptians never enslaved pretty much most of Africa. No, only white man created slavery. Just remember this, and how dare you think otherwise?
I mean, it's not like the 13 colonies when I won't call them settlers because they were essentially religious refugees more than anything. Because we love to take in refugees in our current political day and age. It's not like they were religious refugees coming from the old world over to a newly discovered land where the majority of the population were nomadic and didn't settle the land, and in some cases we bought, traded, and bartered for said land, maybe sometimes to the detriment of the indigenous population, maybe sometimes to their boon and benefit. Who the fuck knows? It's circumstantial, but let's not get caught up in the details of things.
Yeah.
And inconvenient details.
Just agree, white man bad. That's all you need to remember. Oh my God. Actually, I'd love to ask them, what's worse, white man, at which point they'll explode, or orange man, at which point they'll explode? Who's worse? I don't think they could cope with it. I'll be honest with you.
Era 404, page not found.
I mean, because technically, okay, if you allow for the fact that white isn't a colour, which we could argue, especially, I mean, let's be honest, I'm a redhead. I'm as white as it's going to get, even though I'm not white because I've got the pink to the skin, and pink is a colour. So technically, I am a person of colour. But orange man bad. Orange is a colour. Literally, their own arguments, they are going against their own arguments. So, yeah. You want hypocrisy? There you go.
I would love to formulate a rebuttal for the sake of playing devil's advocate, but
you can't, can you?
No, you're inherently not wrong. So, yeah, touche.
Just saying. So next time they say orange man bad, call them racist.
Again, I wish I had something to say, but I don't. I'm going to concede before I even begin.
Yeah. Sorry about that, people, but carry on.
So in response to my response to Sophane's idiotic comment, my favorite, bestest buddy on Twitter decided to respond.
Coward.
And yes, we actually are bestest. We are bestest buddies, though, Jensen. I actually looked at who I have the most interaction with on Twitter, and it is our good friend, not just of me, but also of the channel, because he is a goldmine of content. Good Dr. William Harpine decided to chime in.
Yeah.
Which, if for some reason you ever listen to this, Dr. Harpine, I do so enjoy our back and forth because you have given me endless amounts of things to talk about, and I find the conversations in the back and forth greatly entertaining. So, and I'll just address Jacob in the chat real quick. Doku concedes that I am the most logical choice for dictator, and Jensen, apparently you also agree.
Yeah, except for one thing. Jacob's like 2'6". He couldn't be the dictator. He's more like the ankle-tator. Let's be fair.
Well, I don't. Well, I don't know, Jacob. When did you become a leftist?
Ouch.
The left seems to really love the idea of oppressing other people of differing political opinions, shredding the First Amendment, shredding the Second Amendment, completely ignoring the Constitution, and doing also for the sake of giving power to government, elected officials that, let's say, put their personal interest and the interest of their friends above your best interest or the best interest of the country. And oh, by the way, all these wonderful things that these advocates for progressivism and Marxism and communism and every other great thing that would ever happen that doesn't currently exist in society, you know, through compulsory engagement, not a voluntary thing because, rule of law under threat of force or imprisonment. Yeah, that's definitely not authoritarianism. It completely flies in the face of everything the United States was built upon. Not completely antithetical to the idea of, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, free from tyranny and oppression. That the two things they love to complain about.
I didn't know that was a thing for you guys. I thought that was just a suggestion, to quote memes.
And Jacob is correct. Oppression is not exclusively a leftist stance. I actually agree with you, Jacob. I did not volunteer to have the government print thousands, billions, trillions of dollars and just hand me a paycheck. I did not consent to have my tax dollars, which I worked hard for, go to organizations that I politically and morally are in disagreement with. And I did not consent to suddenly have a legal accessory to a firearm suddenly be banned because a politician decided on my behalf. So Jacob is 100% correct.
And Jacob, the reason you like Putin's road is because he's riding around on a bear, and the guy is topless. Love topless Russian men. Carry on.
So that was a slight off-topic derailing segue there, but more back on topic. So, good Dr. Harpine's wonderful response in regards to blaming people who are alive today for historical events, human rights violations, and atrocities that happened in the past that modern people alive today have nothing to do with, somehow is also related to Republicans complaining about the 2020 election. And, I'll forgive Republicans about, or stop trying to bring up the past when Republicans stop trying to reignite the 2020 election controversy. You mean the same thing that the Democrats did in 2016? And not only did they drag it on, predicated on evidence that was entirely fabricated, not only did they spy on political opponents, but they used taxpayer-funded resources to do it. And oh, by the way, you're still doing it to this fucking day, even though the person in question is no longer in office. So, pot, meet, kettle, you have no leg to stand on. I don't want to hear it. But yes. And of course, pointing this out to the good doctor, his rebuttal. So he excused the Republicans' vile behavior by playing make-believe that Democrats are just as bad. Well, I don't know. It's not like you guys ran with a fabricated narrative for 4 years and wasted taxpayer funds to do it, but yeah, sure. Vile make-believe behavior. It's only the Republicans. The only Republicans that do this. Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm sure. And just as a live review for things, let's go ahead and just read Harpine's response.
Oh God.
which I have yet to read for the record. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is raw and uncut coming to you live. Your exact words. Sooner people can stop bitching about the past and move on, the better. So give up on 2020. Your guy lost fair and square on account of being incompetent. Have a great day. Well, yeah, so did Hillary. And yeah, I'm actually quite annoyed that we keep going on this back and forth about 2016 was rigged, Russian interference. The same way I'm quite annoyed that people are still going on about the 2020 election, considering Biden has been in office for long enough to do damage and we're still wasting taxpayer funded resources. So how about we just go ahead and get the fucking audit done so people can stop bitching about it? That would be my preferable outcome. If you got nothing to hide, then stop wasting our time. Hey, it would actually be quite funny if all the audits come back and do find that, no, actually, believe it or not, the election actually was legitimate. We couldn't really find anything of significance, so Biden's still president. Have a nice day. Cool. all right, we can now move on. We can go back to fucking criticizing Biden because there's plenty of things to criticize Biden about. I would
Yeah.
actually prefer that. It would be a better use of my time.
By the way, Jacob, I'm just going to remind you as you're doing this whole dictator thing that Napoleon was a dictator, and you look up to him literally. I'll bet.
That's that is between that is between you and Jacob. I'm not going to interject myself into that conversation.
Well, that's fair. I wouldn't worry about it too much. We're just playing, isn't that right, Jacob? I like to play with the little people. In his case, it's very, very little people.
You know what's funny? I actually did watch Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers the other night because I got bored. So you jinxed it, Jensen. You keep
Yeah,
jinxing it.
you know what? Jacob actually considers that a porno, don't you?
I'm
Use that as a mental image. Go on. Hairy legs and hairy feet, and he calls that a porno.
I'm a good progressive. I don't kink shame.
Again, I mean, let's face it. There was that. It's still ongoing. That whole shit show about Lord of the Rings apparently being gay. You heard about that, I assume. Yes, you did. Just that
Yes,
groan tells me you've heard about it.
yes, I have, and this is not a new thing. This was not a planned topic, but would you like to move into the conversation of why the hell do people keep putting up with these individuals who openly try to inject things into works of fiction or works of fantasy, what have you, that don't exist, that don't even make sense for the context of the story? Or, if we look at the beliefs and the mindset and the intentions of the people writing it, something that it would be very easy for a small child to realize was never intended.
Yep. Just to let you know before you go any further, we've got storm weather coming up here, so if I suddenly cut out, you know what's happened.
Ah, I got you. If that happens, I will pray that you get back quickly and I can carry on the show by myself.
Yeah. Good luck, but carry on. So I just thought you should know I'm hearing the thunder. It's either that or there's a bombing run going on in London. Either way, I'm fairly cool.
Honestly, both are equally probable considering that the UK and Russia are uh, playing, to use a word that you commonly use, silly buggers with each other.
True. And I agree. The thing with Sam and Frodo was exceptionally gay. Except, I actually think the gay one was Frodo. Because after all, Frodo never got with any females whatsoever, no matter what species, whereas at least Sam ended up getting married and having kids. Just saying.
Does kind of punch a very, I don't know, slightly small hole in the whole you know, queer hobbit narrative that they seem to be unhealthily obsessed with.
Yeah. Ain't right, is it?
It it makes you wonder. It really does make you wonder, doesn't it?
Oof, oh yes, that's storm weather.
Yeah, I could hear that. That was a loud one.
Yeah, that was basically right above my house. So again, if I cut out, sorry people, nothing I can do. Anyway, back to what you was going to say, mate.
Oh yeah, where did
Harpine, we was pointing out how much of a coward he is. Okay, we wasn't, but I'm just gonna call him a coward anyway.
yeah, I think we point that out pretty much every time we end up talking about the good doctor.
Yes.
So again, hypocrisy, double standards. Eh, you can't sit here and bitch about people going, the 2020 election seems to be a bit funky. There seem to be some oddities here. Maybe we should look into this because I don't know, worth asking a few questions. I mean, you guys did the same thing with Bush v. Gore back in 2000. So yeah, tit for tat. The fact that you're coming around now and saying, oh, this is vile and disgusting behavior, and you're playing make-believe. It's like, yeah, we're actually not playing make-believe. I would like to agree with you because, again, there's plenty of things to criticize Biden about right now, as opposed to criticizing the legitimacy and the integrity of the 2020 election. But yet here we are still wasting time on it because, oh, funny enough, the Democrats are the ones that keep obstructing anything that might give us a fucking reasonable answer. So the fact that you're sitting here and bitching, moaning, and complaining that Republicans have questions that don't get answered because of Democrats, not Republicans, doesn't really give you a good fucking excuse to your argument. It is literally just, nope, stop asking questions, nothing to see here, submit, do as you're told.
Just want to say hey to Omegon.
Oh my god, hello. But yeah, no, it's just, I find it incredibly, well, I want to say it's amusing if it weren't so damn frustrating, where you have people who should be educated. Again, good doctor. He's PhD, adjunct, or no, professor emeritus. You would think someone would be able to realize that they're being hypocritical and obviously have a political bias, but they're being tribalistic in what they're saying as well. But no, they're not. They're actually, ironically enough, being more zealous than the majority of the Trump supporters I talk to on Twitter. It's actually rather astonishing that you can complain about Trump supporters in January 6th and the 2016 election ad nauseum and somehow wrap every other topic of conversation that has nothing to do with any of those topics back to one of those three topics while still being a PhD and expecting, I guess, at least me to look at it and go, no, this is completely unbiased and valid criticism. What the hell, man? Like, it's mind-boggling. Like, you call us a cult. Uh, can can I interest you in a mirror? I'll give it to you at a 20% discount. It's it's just the weirdest thing. And I guess the most mind-boggling part about it is ever since Biden got elected and Trump was no longer in office, it's only gotten worse. It gets worse as the days go on. It's, maybe I should actually go get a PhD in psychology and sociology because I would love to write a paper about this. I would love to analyze it in detail. It's just,
Yeah, Doku. Okay, you know full well the only way this dude got his PhD was because he cut it out of a cornflakes box. You know it, and I know it.
oh, I was gonna say he probably sucked up to all of his professors, which is likely where he got these opinions from. But I'll go with yours because it's more entertaining.
Insulting. The word is insulting.
Well, that too, but tomato, tomato.
Yeah. You can tell I don't care, can't you?
Well, I actually would be more surprised if you thought I was ever under the impression that you did.
Fair point. Can't argue that.
But yeah, it's, I guess kind of a, not necessarily a segue, but a relevant thing that I just find amusing is, as I believe you and MC brought up on his show, did you see how hashtag arrest Trump now or whatever it was trending number 3 for several hours?
Oh, God. Really?
Yeah, all over a video that Midas Touch, I believe, put out on Twitter, which was a very, for once, selectively edited clip of January 6th, the worst day in our nation's history that we shall never be able to forget. The day where the only people who died was one person who was shot in the neck by not a Trump supporter, and everybody else died of natural causes. Worse than 9/11, though, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
But the funny part about that is not only was it selectively edited, and not only can you go look up at what Trump was tweeting at the time, which was funny, spoiler warning, saying to be peaceful, go home, respect Capitol Police, etc., etc. But yeah, of course, Twitter deletes that because it's inconvenient to the narrative. But if you actually went to go type in arrest and then leave it blank, arrest Trump now was actually not the suggested this many tweets in the last hour. It was somebody else, like Omi, something that began with an O and last name with a Z. So
Okay.
at the point in time, it was still on the trending list. It wasn't actually trending according to Twitter's own algorithm, which I just find hilarious.
That's kind of weird, but funny.
Well, it means somebody pinned it to their trending page. So
Yeah.
and yeah, let's cut through the malarkey and just admit the truth. Twitter, Facebook, Google, Amazon, they're scared that Trump is coming for them for the overt censorship, manipulation of search results, potentially election interference, depending on who you believe. And so yeah, that's the reason you're going to see more and more of this, especially the more unsuccessful they become in quote hashtag arresting Trump. Now, the more you're going to see them push this.
Fair.
And also, yes, they will continue to waste state, federal, taxpayer-funded resources trying to arrest the guy that they've been investigating for the past 5 years, and the best thing they have is a free fucking parking spot. It's like,
That's pathetic. Wow.
and that's the thing. Even people within Trump's administration who turncoated on him,
Mm-hmm.
if they had anything, they would hand it over in a heartbeat. It would be their keys to the proverbial kingdom.
Yeah.
But again, the best the best we got is, I don't know, his CFO maybe did some shady things, which Trump wasn't a part of his business while he was acting as president. So congratulations, you got nothing on Trump. So oh he didn't pay his taxes. He evaded his taxes. No, he was using the same exact tax code that you guys helped put in place and just use it to his benefit. Kind of the same way that I don't know, Zuckerberg, Bezos, Pelosi, Bernie, Biden, Obama, Bush, McConnell. Hey, do I need to continue to list names of people who use the same tax code to their own benefit as well? Hey, again, the name of the game here, ladies and gentlemen, is hypocrisy and double standards. But
Mm-hmm.
God forbid, this is just a right-wing conspiracy theory. It's not like anybody else would use the system or their positions of power and influence to benefit themselves now, would they? No, that never happens. These are all saints, except for anybody who wears a red hat and supports the orange man. Then you're the devil.
Yeah. Hey, like I said, you can't actually take the mickey out of Orange Man. He is technically a person of color. So you stop that now.
Tangerine lives matter? Am I allowed to
Hey,
say that?
we all know full well no lives matter. And you know it.
I don't disagree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. My life matters to me.
Yeah.
I guess that's probably about the best rebuttal I can come up with for that one.
Yeah. It's the fact that I had absolutely nothing to say to that. It kind of, I think it actually not saying said more than saying, don't you? Sorry, mate. No offense.
It's, sometimes no words being spoken conveys a lot more than actually trying to use words to convey a message.
So what you're saying is silence is violence. I knew it. You are a lefty.
Oh God, I had forgotten about that that
Mm-hmm.
fun little hashtag / slogan. that was
Yeah. I
that
hadn't.
was a fun time on the internet for a while.
Yeah.
How dare you speak out of? How dare you not speak out against violence and oppression and this and that? But also, how dare you speak out against also violence and oppression if you're not part of said group? Do you want me to speak out against it or not? Like, hey, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
That's unfortunately that is completely correct. You are. There is no right thing in this equation. It's just you have to say what they wanted. Of course, you didn't say what they wanted, therefore, you're the bad guy, no matter what you said, even if you agreed with them. Because it was the wrong thing to agree with. Yeah. What?
It. There are many times I wonder why. Well, if it weren't for the entertainment, because I get to point out hypocrisy and things like this,
Mm-hmm.
there's no real point to it, though. It's an exercise in futility. Granted, it is free entertainment, and it's
Mm-hmm.
again free content, so hopefully by extension, entertainment for everybody listening. But if that were not the case, there there would be no point to this. There'd be no point in engaging. There'd be no point in having a political discourse. There'd be no point in trying to hear the other side and maybe, regardless of if you're in agreement or disagreement, try to at least understand what the argument is. We've gotten to the point where it's no, you're right, I'm wrong. That's your side of the house. This is my side of the house. We'll divide it in two. No, go go about your merry way. Have fun. Leave me the fuck alone. Except that's not the case because also they will make it your business just because they know that you're in disagreement. It's like, no, you're not allowed to simply just disagree and live your life and live and let live. No, you have to agree with me. If not, blah blah blah. It's like, oh my god. It's like, can we get back to I don't know. It's not like every person agrees or thinks the same way about everything in the world, period, because we're not a fucking hive mind monolith NPC culture, or at least we shouldn't be.
Are you saying that we're not exactly what they want them to be? How dare you, you racist?
Again, it's like going back to what I was saying earlier. The people who claim to be for some sort of strange utopia that they think they can usher in by creating more authoritarian structures and system are the same people who claim authoritarian systems and oppression and this and that is all bad, but they're advocating for a society that can only exist predicated on that sort of mentality and ideology. Mind-boggling.
I'm just going to say it. Did you really think there was going to be any logic in any of their conversations? Really?
I'm desperately trying to cling on to some degree of hope, so just let me have it, please.
Let it go, man. Let it go.
Oh, of course you
Yeah,
would.
of course I would.
I'm not drinking for myself. I'm just going to drink for Dodge on that one.
Mm-hmm. Had to be done, and you know it.
I did kind of set that one up perfectly for you, so I don't
You
hold it
did.
against you.
No.
Yeah, sometimes you got to take the duck. Okay. So this one's fun, actually. This is so appropriate. This tickles my fanny. I'm gonna share something for the chat. And there you go. This is
One sec. Give me a fucking break. And there it is.
yeah, this is just delightful. Note that Democrats had evidence. Russia, if you're listening. Trump Tower meeting. Multiple convictions of Trump people who made improper connections with Russia. Trump had zero evidence. None, not a zip. See the difference? Jensen, is it just me? Or does this scream of delusion?
Oh, I thought you were going to go with, is this me or is this guy a prick? But okay. No, fair statement. I would definitely say that delusion definitely comes across here because give it up, guys. Okay. The Russia thing is done. Seriously. Move on.
I'm actually trying to think of how I want to respond to this. Do I want to be a dick, or do I want to actually give a legitimate response?
Be a dick.
I'm really tempted to be a dick.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be a subtle dick.
I want to make a stupid comment. Yeah, I'm going to. So you're going to be a subtle dick, so you're going to try and fit in carefully, are you?
Actually, no.
Mm-hmm.
I know I spelled it wrong. I don't care. I'm typing fast.
Wow.
God, I really fucked that one up. Oh,
So English not in your top 10 of languages, then I'm going to guess.
I am trying to entertain a cat and type and talk at the same time. It's not really working right now. It's slack.
Okay. All right.
Oh, actually, although I'm actually glad I misspelled that because I want to be a little more cheeky.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, everyone, this is basically what the stream's going to be. Him taking the piss out of Harpine, and then he's going to actually start talking about economics. For those that want to be around for the economics, stay. This is something he is really good at.
Like I said, if it weren't for the free entertainment,
Mm-hmm.
and also yes, I intentionally want that share with the class at the end there because good Doctor Hype. There we go. I'm happy with it.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see how long it takes him to respond to that. Chances are I'm going to get my usual response of oh whatever, have a nice day. It's like, yeah,
That's a win. Okay.
it, it's annoying because it happens so damn frequently. It's like, no, let's please. I would actually like to hear your rebuttal. I would, if you disagree with me, tell me why. Tell me how I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, this is
Also known as impress me, bitch. That's what you're saying.
it. Usually, if I'm actually incorrect about something, or at least if somebody has a differing opinion, I would prefer they share it with me and actually back it up with evidence. But yeah, you're not wrong. Also, Shirati, yeah, they are very large cats. That just makes me realize they're going to continue to grow for the next year and a half. It's not like weighing 22 and 23 pounds respectively is enough.
Like she said, mounts. I am completely comfortable with what she said. I really am.
I'm going to start referring to both of them as Battle Cat 1 and Battle Cat 2 and see if they respond.
What are you going to do if they actually do? Or should I say when, not if?
To be honest, I didn't think that far ahead. It's a good question. It's a very good question. I'm not sure.
You know full freaking well these little monsters, well, I say little, these little monsters probably will do that. Just as a, haha, screw you.
Well, as I told you before, Bevo spent about 30 to 45 minutes in the bathroom desperately trying to figure out how to get to a house centipede that was on the ceiling.
Mm-hmm. Actually, if you want it real fun, call one of them Cringer and the other one Battle Cat. See how long you last.
Stop giving me ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. uh, Thundercats roll out.
Yeah, I just want to point out about the whole Thundercats thing. Are they really suggesting that they're all prostitutes? After all, it's Thundercats whole. Just remember this.
I'm not sure how to
I'm
respond to that either.
I'm not wrong. Seriously, their entire battle cry is Thundercats ho. I mean, what are they saying about Chitara here? Alright, it's one of those things. Maybe, find out how much she charges. Oh my god, you realise she is technically one of the cat girls.
You're not wrong.
hmm
You're not wrong.
They brought cat girls to children. Get
Oh
them while
god.
they're young.
And I just
Damn.
realized
hmm
she is the only cat girl in
hmm
Thundercats. So Thundercats ho.
Yep. Though in all fairness, Schnarf was a complete pussy, so he possibly counts as being one of the girls, or at least, something close. As you can tell, not a fan of that one.
Again, not sure how to respond to that either. You're not entirely wrong. Although,
hmm
actually, no. We have to be good progressives. Snarf was the androgynous one. We need representation.
Schnarf was an accident.
Again, representation.
Fine. Cool. Yeah,
We're going to hell.
I'll save you a beer.
Please do. If I get
Actually,
there
no.
first, I'll save you
Oz
one.
is correct. That's even worse. Oz, that you shouldn't have admitted. You really shouldn't have said that. And wasn't it Kit was the girl, but one of the twins was a girl. Thundercats ho. Dude, the entire show was about child pornography. I'm now getting the hint. I feel bad that I actually used to watch that as a kid.
I did as well. That and remember Herculoids?
No,
Oh, you never watched Herculoids?
no.
Oh, see if you can find any of the episodes on wherever you choose to consume your entertainment on the interweb. I'm not going to judge.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember the show with the two blob monsters, Gloop and Gleep?
No, and that sounds disturbing all on its own.
There was like a multi-legged it was like a rhino meets a triceratops, and it would shoot like stones or something out of its horn. You never saw that show.
No. Trust me, if I'd seen that, I would know that, and that just sounded really trippy. And I watch anime lately, so I understand trippy.
It's a very bizarre show, to say the least. And
Mm,
I forget how it's spelled. If anybody remembers, drop it in chat if you don't mind. Jensen, you should definitely watch it because it's an experience.
Yeah, so it's having a root canal. Just saying.
Fair enough.
Mm,
No, you actually might get a kick out of it.
Yeah. Okay. By the way, you've gained evil points.
Oh, number 6. You held a woman hostage in order to blackmail a child. I'm impressed. I love that show. If anybody's wondering what we're talking about, it's an anime titled "Combatant Shall Be Dispatched." It's about an evil organization trying to take over an alien planet that's a fantasy world setting. It's very funny. You should check it
Is
out.
I actually strongly suggest you do. I realise that a lot of people don't like the anime, but just for sheer stupidity, it's kind of fun. And I still say my favourite character is the little android.
Oh no, I don't disagree. The android is the best. He's a snarky, stuck-up little bitch. I love it.
Yeah. Can't think why the Brit likes her, can you?
Nah, nothing comes to mind.
Yeah.
Not
We
sure why.
don't we don't do snarky and stuck up. Not at all.
Definitely never happens.
Are you really sure you want to wear ring, Sharati? Really? After that SCP? Maybe not, eh?
Mm.
Yeah, she's going to kill me for this.
I'm not going to help you out with this one, Jensen. I'm sorry.
I don't blame you.
You're on your own, dude.
It's cool, and I am happy with this. I meant what I said, and I said what I meant. It's now up to her to deal with it. Anyway,
I mean,
it's
if I get to hell before you, you save me the beer.
Yep.
Other way around, I'll save you a cat girl.
You know there will be cat girls in hell. Oh yeah.
I mean,
when I finished. What?
I mean, according to almost every anime and quite a few Western properties, demi-humans and beast people and cat girls and fox girls and all that generally fall under the realm of demon, so it's not really that far of a stretch to the imagination.
Mm-hmm. Something tells me we've just worked out exactly where Oz is going.
Let's be blunt. Are any of us actually going to make it past the pearly gates? Because I don't think we'll pass the purity test.
But, Doku, me good zom. Me never do nothing wrong.
You know, I'm not going to respond to that one. I will wait for either Shirati or Miss Murder to address that.
Mm-hmm. Something tells me they probably will. It's only because they know that me good zom. They're so proud of me for being a good boy. I'd never do anything wrong. Right.
Yeah, nothing bad could ever come from dangling the keys in front of a Malkavian.
Better than dangling the keys in front of a bloody Doku's character.
I don't know what you're talking about. Nothing bad ever happened. Ever.
Batcopter?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, okay, that's all I'm going to say. Batcopter. Yep. Anyway, do things. Make economic noises. This is where I shut up and leave them to it, everyone, because I have no idea what the fuck he's talking about half the time.
Ah, yes. I will try to not make this very dry. But I do need to laugh at CNBC. Apparently, a reputable news outlet for economic and investment and business news, trying to claim that inflation is a good thing because it will mean rising wages. This might be one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. And I'm not saying that to be overly dramatic. When I very first started investing over a decade ago now, I used to watch CNBC from 7 in the morning until 9 at night. The fact that they would put that as a headline is astonishing. Like, a sixth grader with a basic 5-minute explanation of inflation and what it means would realize that is dumb. That is really, really dumb.
Sorry to interrupt you, mate, but you made the point about you've heard some really stupid things. Of course you have. You talk to Penoid. You don't get much more stupid than that. Got ya.
Yeah.
Now you got to actually carry on from there. Go ahead.
I am going to take a sip of my drink and then I will carry on. So, I would just like to point something out. Inflation will result in rising wages. After the company has already cut cost to as large of an extent as possible, Hopefully, they don't decide that the cost of doing business, because the rising cost of prices and cost of paying their workers, even if they're on a skeleton crew, maybe it's just easier to just shut the doors, file for bankruptcy, cut your losses, take what little bit you can get, because a lot of companies will actually do that. It has happened before in history. It's, kind of a popular thing, actually. Because surprisingly enough, declaring bankruptcy and shuttering the doors, you get a tax break from it. So, yeah, let me go ahead and sell off all my assets rather than raising the wage of my workers all the way up to $20 an hour, which is what I'm going to have to do in order to cover the increasing costs due to inflation. And also, I'm going to have to raise the cost on the consumer, because I at least have to break even, which means they're going to have to pay more money, which means their dollar goes less. Than, yeah. But yes, tell me why inflation is a good thing after, everybody's been laid off, the cost of goods and services goes up, and a bunch of businesses go bankrupt. So maybe you don't even get those goods and services. But yes, inflation is a good thing. Says what used to be one of the most premier mainstream financial news outlets. Are you kidding me? This is stupid. Oh, but Doku, I hear people saying, it's just temporary. Prices will come back down. Yeah, tell that to the people who are paying, a nickel, a dime, a quarter for a hamburger several decades ago. Yes, tell me how prices are going to come back down. It's almost like once they raise prices, even if the price of the beef that goes into the hamburger comes back down, I can still sell that hamburger for $1.25 instead of $1. So the price of beef, the price of bread, the price of cheese, that all goes back down. So my input cost goes from 80 cents back to 60. Do you think they're going to lower the price? No, they're not. People have gotten used to paying it. They're not going to lower it. If you believe that, I'm sorry, you are incredibly naive. And we're not even talking about the damage that's going to be done to the economy long term, just because we already live in an inflationary environment because that's the way the fiat United States dollar is set up. But there is going to be damage done due to the rate of inflation. I believe it's the highest since 2007, if I remember correctly. Is going to do a lot of damage to the supply chain. It's going to do a lot of damage to small businesses. It's going to get a lot of people laid off and on unemployment. There is going to be a lot of long-term damage that occurs because of our very loose money, low interest rate environment. And we can just remove that money from the money supply. Oh, how are you going to do that? Because ironically enough, the amount of people applying for home loans, and if you don't believe me, if you live in the United States, check this out. Usually mortgage rates are tied to the 10-year Treasury bond yield. Well, those are at an all-time low. Actually, they were at an all-time low. They're starting to actually go back up. Now, something funny is happening. You can actually get a lower mortgage rate right now than you could 2 years ago. This is because, despite the Treasury bond yield, which is, again, traditionally what these are tied to, the banks can't find anyone to loan to, because the majority of people moving out of cities, which are the primary buyers of real estate, outside of some Wall Street funds, they're moving out of the cities and to rural areas where property values are actually rising. But 2 years ago, the property values in cities were very high. So this means you have a lot of people wanting to leave urban areas who have a quite hefty amount of cash to go ahead and spend. So they're not taking out mortgage loans, they're just buying the property outright. Hence why banks are desperate to get people to lend to, as largely it's based on commission. You got to keep money flowing through the system in order to make money. It's how banking and investing works. It's not exactly a healthy environment. Now, so tell me, you're going to raise interest rates and that's going to pull money out of the system. Not if people aren't going for loans. So what's your other option? Well, you're going to raise taxes. Okay, sure, you're going to raise taxes. You've been saying that for a long time. We're going to raise taxes on the rich. The same rich people who have an army of lawyers and accountants who can, move their money to anywhere globally. Yes, I'm sure you're going to milk the rich for all the money that you need, because that's really worked in the past. No, the people who are going to end up paying for this are upper to lower middle class, somewhere in that range. The people who are already living below the poverty line, they're going to be on welfare. That's just the way it is, especially if government continues to expand. So that's going to continue to be a drain on the system. The more you increase taxes, you're actually going to shove the lower middle class into the actual poverty. They're going to have to go on government programs. That's going to require more funding, which means you're going to have to raise taxes, which is going to push more money out of the system and overseas. And it's going to increase the burden on the middle to upper middle class, which now you end with this weird death spiral of you have one final option. And it's the option that we're seeing executed right now. You keep interest rates artificially low. You try to weasel in taxes whatever way you can, but that's not going to be enough to make up for the amount of liquidity you're going to need to keep this system going. Or you can take advantage of the fact that we have a fiat system in place and go ahead and print money and just, I owe you how much? Okay, yeah, let me make a phone call real quick. Yeah, can you print an extra $1 trillion? Hey, let me sell some treasury bonds to the Fed. Cool, thank you. Boom, here you go. There's your money back. I paid my debt. Doesn't matter the fact that I just printed $1 trillion out of thin air, which is going to increase the problem of inflation and rising costs, thus hurting the consumer even more, thus exacerbating the problem until we hit a point of critical mass and the whole thing fucking fails. But yeah, as long as it happens 10 years from now and not tomorrow, then who the fuck cares? This is essentially the way we've run our economy since some would argue the late 70s, early 80s, but it really didn't become, an adopted policy until the dot-com bubble. And then again in the 2008 real estate bubble. And then again today with the artificially created economic collapse due to the cough from the country, which I'm not allowed to say because, political reasons. So to circle this back around, as our press secretary would say, CNBC saying inflation is a good thing is one of the most ridiculously economic illiterate things I have ever heard in my entire fucking life. It is absurd to try to even convince someone with... You don't even have to be economically well versed. If you have a bank account and you buy groceries and you have a grocery receipt from today versus 6 months ago, it's pretty obvious, or at least it should be, no, inflation is not a good thing. It never has been. And bear in mind, here's a little bit of salt for the open knife wound. These are the same people who also complain about, well, the wages are not keeping up with the cost of living, therefore we need more government intervention. Yeah, you mean you need to raise taxes so you can hire a new employee so that you have employees for this new government program that you've got to put in place to make sure that we have a living wage. And that makes sense to you how? I'd just like to point something out. When government does things, it's usually very inefficient, it's usually very expensive, and it's usually not done with the type of quality control that the free market and therefore the consumer create as just part of the natural environment. Oh, you built a crappy car? Well, this guy over here built a better car for the same price. I'm going to go with that person. Yeah, you don't get that with government programs now, do you? Funny enough, the shittier car ends up costing 10% more because you have to pay a government worker to make sure the car gets built. So you're just adding an extra layer of expense on top of things that the free market could already do already. So yeah, tell me more. Tell me more about how we need more government intervention in the free market to make sure everybody has a living wage. Unless you want the entire fucking country to be a government employee, in which case, oh, cool, communism. The entire premise is ridiculous. This is why I say economics, personal finance, an accurate view of history, especially in regards to economics and finance, should be mandatory for every high school junior and senior. It's absurd how incredibly illiterate people are in regards to these things. That should be basic fucking common sense. I'm not even getting into like the nitty gritty mathematics of why having a disparaging difference between a supply of a certain good and demand for a certain good could actually be a good thing for the economy, depending on what you're looking at and what circumstance you're looking at. Sometimes price controls and price floors, if they're temporary, can actually be a good thing. Also, excess is not always necessarily a good thing because it can plummet prices, thus plummeting an entire industry because, oh, by the way, the business can't sell this in order to cover their cost, operating costs, things like that. There's a reason that you see government subsidies for things like farming. But that's a more detailed and much more boring conversation. Instead, I'm just going to point and laugh at the idiots at CNBC going, but inflation's a good thing, so we can raise the wages. No, they're going to fire your ass first. If you're a business owner, it's like, oh, crap. I'm going to have to pay $10 for this instead of what I was paying $5 for. Yeah, if we keep printing money the way we're due. Yeah. Sorry, Bob, you're a part-time employee. You're gone. Poof, bye. I'm going to double your hours, so you get more hours, so I'll pay you more money, but I'm not going to raise your fucking... I'm not going to raise how much I pay you. I'm just going to make you work more hours, and then when you inevitably quit due to burnout or demand I pay you more, well, I'm going to fire another part-time employee, and I'll go ahead and use their salary to pay you more. Yeah, this actually is harmful to the economy. Less people with jobs, higher costs. I am going to continue to repeat myself. Jensen, what say you? Jensen?
Excuse me, I'd hit the wrong button. Yes, I am here. I think it's in fact really bloody stupid. The fact that America is actually printing out money and handing out in lieu of actually trying to sort out this problem just proves it's not going to work. I mean, you guys like to take the piss out of the English, and I totally understand why. But we're not doing that, and we're still getting on quite nicely. So, this whole economic shit show that is going on, it's going to get worse if people don't do anything about it. And unfortunately, the only thing that's being done about it is to make it even worse. We are going to get to the point, I don't actually think there will be a way of fixing it. I mean, I was sitting here trying to work out how I'm going to fit in a stupid joke about it's all well and good you having all of these problems, but why don't you give us a solution, a final solution? Then it occurs to me that may actually be about the only damn way we're actually going to deal with this problem is quite literal genocide. I'm not saying of who. I would like that noted. I'm not making any declaration of anyone particularly going after anybody, but I can see it happening, and I can see it happening fairly soon. What about you, mate? Do you agree or disagree?
I do wonder.
I would actually, before you do, sir, I would point out that war is probably one of the best things for making money in a governmental situation, because it allows them absolute control of something, and people can't say anything because, hold it, are you fighting against the country while we're at war? What's wrong with you? Are you agreeing with the enemy? Are you one of them?
Yeah. See, I do wonder about the population control narrative that gets pushed a lot because I'm of two conflicting not opinions, is the word I'm looking for. Interpretations. On the one hand, the more people you have, that's the more labor you have, that's the more productivity you can create, and also the more people that you can burden with debt. So, from one aspect, having a high population count is a good thing. On the other hand, it requires a lot of resources and a lot of input to maintain a high population, especially if we're talking about people who are eating mostly grains and vegetables as opposed to meat. It requires more food, which requires more land to get the same calorie content to make the same amount of productivity from a worker, because starving people aren't very productive. So I'm not sure where I fall on this one. But it sounds to me like the population control narrative is more an argument from, well, not people who are necessarily concerned about the environment, but are probably more likely concerned about the sustainability of the workforce in regards to be blunt, how much food does it take to feed this population and how much land do we have available to grow food? I think that's actually probably more on the nose than, the global warming. Uh, we're all going to be underwater in 10 years. The same thing they were saying, 30 years ago.
Yeah, well, it is going to happen in 10 years, just not the next 10, but it will happen within a 10-year period of undefined length. We're all going to die. Yes, we are. Humanity is going to die during a period that may well define 10 in its equation. It just isn't necessarily going to happen yet. And to put it bluntly, even if humanity dies, the world won't give a shit. Okay? This whole thing about we're destroying the world. No, we're not. Okay? Barring nuclear weapons, we can't get the sort of heat that this world has actually looked at, dealt with, and gone beyond and not given a monkey's crap about. We are an itch on the back of this planet. It probably hasn't even noticed us. We've been here for so short a period of time. I don't think a lot of people understand it, and they just go, but human. No, screw human. Hey, Candid. It's nothing to do with humanity. Humanity is a virus. It is here for a tiny period of time and it goes. The world continues on. Humanity isn't going to do anything apart from if we hit the 5 places with nukes and crack the planet in 2. Otherwise, it ain't going to give a shit. We are just here for now. Deal with it, people.
Actually, if you're ever in the mood to be cheeky and you want to stir the proverbial pot,
Mm-hmm.
here are 3 things you can do. If you run into a climate activist, these are your 3 topics of conversation you should bring up.
Mm-hmm.
What were the carbon emissions caused by human activity prior to the mini ice age?
Mm-hmm.
That's a fun one. The second one, ask them how much they know about the Dust Bowl, and then ask them why Middle America is the breadbasket of the world and not a desert. And then ask them if they know why we have crop rotation and leave a field fallow. The answers you get will astonish you. I'm not joking. I've done this before. I can tell you from personal experience, some of the answers you're going to get are the most nonsensical things you've ever heard in your life, and it is funny as hell.
Yeah. To be honest, there's at least 90% of the movie and go, what's the Dust Bowl?
Surprisingly enough, they actually know what the Dust Bowl is. The amount of people that think it's still going on is what's going to make you laugh.
Oh. I say about the what's the Dust Bowl because different parts of the planet. Over here, the Dust Bowl to us is like, isn't that Spain? Yeah, literally, that's how we would consider Spain. All right.
Yeah, no, I had someone try to tell me that the Dust Bowl hit its peak in 1983. Like, excuse me? It have you driven through Indiana or Ohio or any large agricultural state in the Midwest? Have you been to the Dakotas lately? Oh
What?
no.
Why
Yeah.
would I want to go to flyover country? Good God, they're just Orange Man supporters. Ugh.
Oh, you mean the people that don't know how to use a Xerox machine and clearly don't have
Yeah,
access to a phone with a camera?
yeah, that's the ones.
Yeah. I still can't believe Kamala said that. Like just how just I'm not sure what to say.
How the fuck have you got that? something that dumb as your vice president. And I'm, for once, not even going to take the piss out of your president. Okay? She is technically the. Okay, this should terrify it. It suddenly just made me shiver. She's the intelligent one of the two.
You're not wrong. I fucking hate to say that you're not wrong.
How horrifying! Just saying those words. Did you just get that ice down your spine of, oh Jesus Christ, he's right. Yeah. Well, hey,
Yeah.
think of it this way, mate. It could be worse. You could be part of England. You know, the one that's actually not got Biden. Okay, we've got Boris Johnson. It ain't really that much better. But in comparison, Boris Johnson is a genius. Biden is. I'd call him a puppet, but it'd be an insult to puppets.
It's still. It makes me laugh, but not in a good way, when you have Putin, of all people, looking at Biden in response to political malfeasance amongst the population which you claim to represent. Let's just put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Biden tries to criticize Putin, and then Putin comes out and says what, to be blunt, anybody with an objective brain cell floating around in their skull would realize. Aren't you guys dropping cases or pushing prosecution on people based upon overtly political reasons and purposes? Because, that's what you're doing. Like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Capitol police officer said, "Oh, hold the door open." Grandma just walks inside building. Yep, tossed in the gulag.
Mm-hmm.
But black hoodie, black pants, black backpack, red and black flag, mask over his face, throws a freaking firework in the middle of the riot police and gets arrested. And then, nope, charges dropped. Hey, the vice president will help bail you out. You're telling me this isn't overtly political? Yeah, I'm gonna press X to doubt on that one.
Look, I'm not going to out and out defend the police for this, but it's not actually the police's fault with what's going on with Portland. It's the DA and all that lot. The police, they try. All they can do is arrest. Unless you're advocating for it, and I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you, but unless you're advocating for them to go around with billy clubs and beating the shit out of people, didn't they do that in the 60s?
The thing is, yeah, that might solve the problem, except for the fact a lot of people are going to go out with the explicit purpose of trying to get themselves beaten by the cops so they can turn around and sue the cops and make a lot of money, and also undermine the social stability, because that's kind of the goal to begin with. So you'd actually be doing what they want you to do.
But wouldn't it be kind of cool if your ruling council, and I use those words in such a way, actually turned round and said, yeah, we're not going to allow suing the police, and the people doing it are going to be taken and put away. Yeah, I realise how authoritarian that is. Trust me, I realise. But wouldn't it be an absolute shock to these people that they wouldn't know what to do? They go out there, they get beaten up by the police. Ha, we're going to sue, and then you go to jail, where the police can beat you up again.
If I ever believed it would happen, I think the pendulum is at a certain point where it goes against my personal utopian idea, but it'd probably be effective.
Yeah.
I don't think society should ever have gotten to this point, but we're at a point now where you might be onto something there, Jensen.
Well, Ms. Murder said something. Sometimes stupid can be fixed with an ass whooping. Yes, and also said street judges. I really like the idea of going full on 2000 AD judges. I think that would be outstanding, and it would deal with a lot of the problems. Hell, it would. Could you imagine if like 500 street judges went into Portland? The riots would be over in 20 minutes.
You know, there is a saying about fighting fire with fire.
Hmm.
So I'm going to take that saying to heart and the example I'm about to use.
Hmm.
They want to defund the police. They think we should have an anarchistic society, a communist society. You know what? Sure. Let's go with that. No police. The community will police itself. No government intervention. And the same anarcho communists who like to burn down cities also actually think the Second Amendment's a pretty good thing. They want the guns to use against the anti-fascists. Or sorry, to use against the fascists because they're anti-fascists. You know what? I say we do it. Let's give them what they want. And you know what? We go ahead and police ourselves and call it a day.
Yeah.
Let's see how that utopian reality plays out for these individuals because I
Didn't
have a
you guys do
feeling
that though? I mean, wasn't that pretty much the Wild West?
it, that wasn't quite the way it was, but
All right,
I,
okay, no, you are correct. Not quite, but wasn't it close to the Wild West?
close enough to use this analogy.
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, sure. There might have been some degree of law and order and social structure, but yeah, for the most part, somebody wrongs you, somebody steals from you, somebody murders your kin, or whatever. Yep. Let's form a posse. But sure, let's do it. Why not? Because I don't know about you, Jensen, but I seem to remember back in 2015, 2016, that when these goofball Looney Tunes dressed in all black tried to attack Trump supporters who weren't just, 40, 50, 60-year-old men and women just waving Trump flags, standing around doing jack all nothing. But
Hmm.
when actual pissed off Trump supporters showed up, they kind of got their ass beaten. I know it happened at least in Berkeley.
Yeah.
Yeah, I I wonder if they really want to go forward with this defund the police. We're gonna all beat the crap out of you. Yeah, it didn't work out for you too well last time. So yeah, right now the only people protecting you are people in positions of power and influence, specifically people who can tell the police to stand down and people who can drop federal charges. Let's remove them from the equation and let's just have a good old fashioned brawl out in the middle of the street.
There
Let's
is
see how that
another.
plays out.
There is another suggestion, and I think MC. Well, if MC agrees with me, you lot are in deep shit. But technically, he should actually be horrified at this concept. I actually agree with defunding the police. Get rid of all of them, and then let's have military justice. Let's see the riots occur then. Click.
Oh, I I would not mind seeing some of these individuals, especially ones that are in positions of power, because some of them technically, I'm not saying this will happen, but technically could face military tribunal, which
Hmm.
they should. In my opinion, they definitely should. Also, there's a reason I say there's a what's the right way to word this?
I agree with you, MC. Sorry, mate. Just needed to say that.
No worries.
Mhm.
But yeah, no. Hmm, I'm gonna ask if you agree with me on this once I'm done, Jensen. But
Mhm.
I believe there is a reason that the military is going through a culling of its own, trying to get rid of certain people, trying to push certain agendas, trying to put other people in positions of power, because I have a suspicion that people who would normally use the military for nefarious and ill intent are afraid that there are people within the military who would, again, bring them in front of a military tribunal, thus ending their careers, shall we say. And so there is a intentional shift amongst the ranks to put people who hold loyalty to ideology and party above country and state. If that makes sense.
Oh, it does. It does. And yes, I actually completely agree with you, mate. That is what's happening. But hey, think of it this way. These people are in charge. Everything should be fine. There should be nothing to worry about with the world. I mean, they've got everything they want. They're in charge. They can make it a better place. Are you not seeing that this world is getting better? Oh no, that's right. It's not. Get the hint, people. They are not good for your country. And I'm not trying to suggest that this is a left or right or any of that. I'm talking the idiots that think they know what they're doing self-evidently don't. Okay? They are just going to ruin your country, quite simply. They're going to take away all that makes it good for you guys and turn it into, oh, you used the word dust bowl earlier. Now imagine that countrywide. I've said this before and I'll say it again. We will end up Mad Max style. Okay? Just imagine America going Mad Max.
Well, there's a reason I brought up crop rotation and leaving fields fallow, because these same people who try to claim about or try to claim this is what we have to do to save the environment and this is what you have to do in regards to growing food and blah blah blah. These people don't know what a fallow field is, let alone what crop rotation is and why it's important. These are also the same idiots that think driving an electric car is going to save the environment, which it's not going to, because guess what? What do you think is going to be worse for the environment? The aluminum.
Memes, one sec, mate. Memes, there's the link, mate. Come right in. You're welcome to.
But yeah, let's look at the pure production cost from pulling whatever it is you're going to need out of the ground to assembling it to getting it to the end user and then letting people drive around. What do you think has more of an environmental impact? An aluminum block combustion engine or an electric car? I'm sure a lot of people know the answer, but let me just say this. Lithium is not good for the environment. It is more difficult to process than oil. The batteries that you need to move around a 1,500 to 2,500 pound vehicle are rather large. The electric motors that needed to turn the wheels powered by said battery, not exactly something easy to produce, requires a lot of input costs. On the other hand, you have a block of aluminum or a block of steel, some pistons, some connecting rods, some shafts, some shafts and rods that are, again, all made out of either aluminum or steel, depending on what you're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
And then some oil, which is actually a lot easier to refine than the materials you're going to need in order to power that really big battery.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, you can't recycle that battery either because it happens to be toxic after it's gone through its refining process. So tell me again why electric vehicles are gonna save the environment or environmentally friendly. Also,
Because AOC said so. How dare you disagree with her?
oh, and
She's
also I'm not
dead.
including.
Don't you realise? Okay.
Oh, I
She was
forgot.
murdered, and that makes her right in everything she says after she was murdered.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up. It reminds me. I need to book my ticket to go see her casket at the Smithsonian.
Yeah. I know that really does sound kind of awesome.
I love that Babylon Bee article. That was a funny one. But just the last point I wanted to make about the electric vehicles,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just talking about the cost of producing the vehicle.
Yeah.
I didn't even bring up the fact, where are you going to get the electricity from? I'm sure you'll find it from an environmentally friendly source, coming from the same people who seem to be vehemently against nuclear, but seem to love wind and solar. Yeah. Sounds to me like you guys fell for an extremely elaborate and nefarious marketing scheme masquerading as political activism and climate change activism.
Yeah.
I don't think they really thought this one through, though. And not like it would really take you a long time to do this own research and digging on yourself and come to the same conclusion. It took me maybe 30 minutes, but yeah.
Stop going around doing research. Just agree with what you're being told. Dude, come on. They created this a while ago. Listen and believe, man. Listen and believe.
Oh,
Yeah,
another wonderful slogan that I'd forgotten about.
Yeah.
That's two you reminded me of today, Jensen. Are we going to go for three?
Possibly. I might save it for later. It's so much more fun to say it just as I know you're drinking, because at this point it's like spray across the screen, because you know that is my mission, to get you to cough and choke. You know that, right?
Yeah, I know you're trying to force me to buy a new computer. That's what you're trying to do.
You will join me in Minecraft if it kills you.
God.
I know what you're talking about, Miss Murdo. You're the one who actually refused to allow to drink at work. Hey, memes. Here he goes.
I should be till I enter someplace scary. Ghostly haunting, I turn loose. Beetlejuice! Beetlejuice! Beetlejuice!
Oh, hey guys, what's going on? How we all doing? How we all doing? Sorry, no, I just got back from the greater Philly area. I was engaging in some games journalism down there, covering the recent Intellivision's Amico. It's new little kind of retro. It's kind of a kid's toy. This is the thing. It's like I played it. I'm like, all right, that's fun. It's totally a heck of a lot more fun when you're playing with friends. And even though I like it, I'm like, PS5 is still at the top of my list. Just my opinion. It's like, oh my god, I can like something and not necessarily totally shill the heck out of it. But it is what it is.
There you go.
I heard what sounded like a lot of quote unquote black pilling and everything. I realize there's a lot of that going around. I hear that here and there. I just wanted to bring a little bit of light, a little bit of levity, just maybe a wee bit of hope for humanity here, seeing as I actually had the day off and wanted to communicate some things, as well as totally shill for my channel, because this is what you're supposed to do on the internet. So I've been saying for a while, in order to solve many of these problems of humanity, you would need a near transcendent event. You would literally need something absolutely amazing. And even in the past, according to different scripture and everything, even when we had transcendent events, we totally went out and murdered the dude. But
yes.
again, hoping for humanity in that hopefully at some point we can level up. All I know is one of the dude bands that I've been talking about for a while, occasionally referencing his work in a lot of my videos, is Mr. Thad Roberts, who, according to him and his geometric analysis of the hyperbolic figure eight knot and its complement, he's been able to determine the mass, length, temperature, charge, and time of all 17 standard model particles, as well as derive the Planck constants. He's coming on my channel this upcoming Saturday at 1 p.m. for a bit of a chit-chat as well. I also spoke with some of my other friends, like a Miss Jen of the Church of Entropy as well, who managed to geometrically align the periodic table in a way that you're looking at, you're like, how did she figure that out? And even when I sent Thad's work to her, she's like, this actually seems very complimentary. Because here's the thing. I don't have their gifts. I am my own individual. What I am attempting to do is acting as a mimetic conduit between different people, between different groups, where I hear people, I'm like, all right, they're saying different things, but there seems to be an area here where this person has this information and they're just missing a little bit here. I'm sitting over there listening to this other person on the stream, and I'm like, Well, I think this is the information that the other person is missing, but these people don't know each other. Let me zip through this Internet of Stuff and Things via a series of tubes and help bring these people together. Maybe get them to collaborate. Maybe they'll hate each other. Who knows? Or maybe they'll share a little bit of information that, I don't know, maybe actual Star Trek is reality at some point. We could actually get there. I'm getting freaking excited.
It would be good.
Yes, the beard is growing in.
Before we go any further, don't forget to put your link to your channel in the chat so as people can join you.
Ah, that's right. I am the worst shill in the world.
No worries, man. Just make sure that if people do want to come and listen to it, and I strongly suggest you do, his stuff is absolutely hilarious. Go and join him. Watch his stuff. It's really cool. He actually does both funny, and if you even look like you're going to say, no, I'm going to remind you of squirrels. And he does some very sensible and thought-provoking things. It's well worth it.
Well, this is the thing that I notice. It's just like, okay, what's out there? You very often you see a lot of rage bait. Why is there rage bait? Well, it's a proven workable business model. It's like you get clicks, you get viewership. I mean, news organizations have done this for years. It's the old model, unfortunately, that if it bleeds, it leads, because it's something horrific. It's something that gets our attention and everything. And the one thing I've noticed between all the different groups and communities that I interact with is people love science. This is the thing. It's like maybe not everyone's really big into it, but it doesn't matter. Left, right, up, down, whether you like this, that, or the other thing. There are always folks that are just interested in science and just why we're here. Literally, what's going on? That I'm not saying that's why I asked that, but that is part of the reason why I asked what's going on. I have no idea. I'm just trying to figure this stuff out. And hopefully it's just, I think if enough of us come together, and that's one of the reasons I kind of pitch it as kind of satirical in a way, because you might look at it and be like, oh, well, that's just kind of a bunch of BS there, or he's just trolling. And then worked within that trolling, there might actually be some things that may in some ways be kind of revolutionary to the ways we think about things. Maybe it's not revolutionary. Maybe it just helps realign something in our brain a little bit to be like, I had not considered that particular thing that particular way before. And if things make more sense to more people, I mean, I tend to think we'd be less like rawr at each other, because I think a lot of it comes down to understanding what it is. And thank you, MC. You literally have given me the derivation to create what I consider the mimetic coupling. Thank you. It says MC. It's actually one of the most important things within modern mimetic theory.
Okay. Well, the way I look at it is this, mate. You're using trolling, and please put that in air quotes, to get your message across and make people think. Does it work? If yes, then I don't see the problem. I really don't. Because while they're thinking about that you're trolling them, the information is still getting through their defenses, for want of a better term. And they're actually hearing you, even if they don't know they're hearing you. And later on, when they hear it again, they're, I've heard that before. That didn't sound like a bad idea. It's planting the seed and it works. Oh my Jesus Christ. Hey, Magic Bollocks. Good to see you, mate. Been a while.
Oh, greetings. Greetings, Dr. Bullocks. How are we doing? Hope all is well. It's all right. I need to go tend to my yard after this in a while. It's been overgrowing.
Yeah.
God.
You know that you can't plant people when they grow. Trust me, I've tried.
No. It's the vegetation is getting a little underhand. I need to go out there with my motorized blade thingy and go over it. God, this is completely how you ruin a future in politics. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. This is the thing that gets. I see what people do, and people are like, I hate why people do this, and it's like, well, why do people keep doing it? Well, because it's historically worked. I'm like, what if we did the exact opposite? I mean, Might it be so novel? All I know is I still need to watch that Robin Williams movie because what was it? He was kind of like a late night, kind of like an old school, like Colbert Report comedian or something. And at one point, he just kind of, as a joke, threw his head into the ring, and then he became president. It's like I did not have sexual relations with that woman. I wanted to, but it's like, how dare he tell the truth? It's like, what's going on? That's not what you're supposed to do. And I'm like, wait a sec, isn't there a guy in the Ukraine that literally just played on TV like a satirical president of the Ukraine? And isn't he the president of the Ukraine right now?
Worrying, isn't it?
I just sit back and it's like, okay, because even a lot of stuff on the internet, even a lot of these conflicts, it's like even one of the reasons why I kind of got into the whole Amico thing was, wait a second, there's drama? I haven't been able to play with trolls since Mr. The Plague before the Plague. And I love that. I love the little going back and forth and stuff. It was so stimulating. It helped me become a better troll. And now it's like I start saying nice things about the Amico, and then you get like Tommy Tallarico. He's like him or whatever in television are retweeting this because I'm just going on there. It's like, Mr. Tallarico, you think gaming is about having fun? How dare you, sir? Gaming is about completely isolating yourself, blocking out all the windows, stocking up on Hot Pockets, and screaming at people on the internet. That's at least what many people do. Why? Because we can. Apparently, I caused some Reddit drama because people took it different ways. They're like, he's against the Amico. Wait, is he for the Amico? We're confused now. And I guess I just recently joined Reddit. Apparently, that was the place I was supposed to be. I forgot about the internet. I am bad at internet.
In all fairness, if you joined Reddit, good luck to you. I don't know who I feel sorry for, but be careful. Reddit may warp you, may twist you.
Reddit has some very negative elements about it. It's great for lulz and laughs and trolls from time to time, but there is Reddit has its own sort of subculture the same way 4chan does, except Reddit's subculture is a little bit more toxic than that of 4chan because they lack a sense of humor.
So Reddit is different than the hacker known as 4chan.
It is. I'm not saying 4chan is the greatest or the bestest and the best of all the world, but Reddit does have a small but extremely zealous community that they foster that doesn't really exist on 4chan. It's kind of bizarre, actually.
Is that because like 4chan is technically anonymous and Reddit you actually have like a username and stuff?
Yeah, that's part of the issue, but it also has to do with Reddit has a very biased approach when it comes to policing their own platform. If you even slightly cross somebody who is the wrong political affiliation or a quote protected class or whatever you want to call it, yeah, they're just as bad about outrage mobs and doxing and all that kind of crap as Twitter is. Versus 4chan is, well, basically a bunch of fucking trolls. It's 4chan.
I thought based upon what you're describing, again, like I barely use Reddit that much, but from what I can see, I mean, isn't it kind of the same as Twitter, except one, a lot of these communities are created by folks that end up moderating these communities, and it's based upon actual peer reporting as well. So basically, if you believe somebody violated the terms of service or the rules of the community, you would actually report it as well. And then that goes to there. And then again, yeah, we all got internal biases or anything. Or I was analyzing this the other day when I was talking about the whole games journalism, the hyperbolic figure rate not its complement. At least internally with that figure, there are 2 degrees, deformations within it that actually are going in different directions. So I'm like, oh, well, if internally with people, it's like, all right, good people are good, bad people are bad. So it's like things are good or bad internally. That ends up leading to your predisposition. And then depending on the groups and communities you're interacting with, the outside forces, certain folks are going to push you one way, other folks will push you another. And then when you apply the incentive structure that's there, I think it explains a lot. Still a work in progress.
That's the problem with Reddit is very biased towards a certain direction. So they'll act one way and make excuses for it, but then turn around and use the exact same actions, and people will get banned.
They were just joking. Oh, come on. We're obviously going to give them a benefit of the doubt because we like those people.
Yeah, and yeah, that's the thing, right? Like I said, Reddit is very biased towards one direction, and it does come from the administration, like the upper levels of management. The majority of Reddit users are fairly well balanced. It's the people who get to decide what's allowed and what isn't that are very skewed towards one direction. Hence why they foster a rather toxic community.
No. This is something that I think we do need to be quite honest about, in that, again, if you're looking at, again, I have no idea where Reddit is technically located. I think a lot of these Silicon Valley things are within California, which much of California, again, not all, but much of California tends to be more of a lefty state as well. So if you factor that's why I look at what happens. I'm like, does this logically make sense to me? Now, it might logically make sense to me. I'm not saying it's fair, but I'm just saying that I think if we actually address the core causes, then we can actually better address them rather than being like, oh my God, my persecutions and stuff like that. Because I have disagreements with folks all the time. It's just, I also try to express my opinion as opinion.
Oh no, it makes sense. Don't get me wrong; it does make sense, especially when you look at, again, you put people in a position of power who have a certain political leaning or a certain opinion or a certain mindset. Of course, they're going to moderate with that bias, whether it's subconscious or not. Of course, you're going to see a skewed interpretation. It's when it becomes so rampant or so heavily biased towards one side that the environment is not really what you can call fair. It's not even like they really want to foster an open debate or anything like that. And when I say they become toxic, I mean they're extremely vicious towards people that, not that they don't like, but they have a differing opinion of. It doesn't matter how polite, cordial, how much evidence you provide, how level-headed you can be. It's, oh, you don't agree with me, therefore I'm gonna do things that would get most people banned. Some of their actions would even be considered felonious in nature, but they don't get censored. They don't get kicked off the platform. Only when somebody brings attention to it, then all of a sudden does a moderator step in and say, okay, yeah, I'm going to have to ban this person. It's allowed to exist simply because, well, I agree with everything this person said, so the fact that they did one thing, okay, whatever. I'll hope it goes under the radar until it doesn't.
We're gonna be like, I see no evil. It's like, okay, I probably shouldn't do that. Blah blah blah. It's been escalated overly to my attention by so much. And this is the thing. Because another problem is too. Even if you get more of kind of a lefty area too, and even if you truly feel you're being completely fair, perception also does matter as well. So if you got a whole bunch of conservatives that feel that they're basically just kind of getting the raw end of the stick, I mean, this is going to explain a lot. And this is why I realize there's at least some legislation. It sounds like it's going through maybe in Florida, I believe, where they're saying it's like, just explicitly state the terms. Make sure it's clear. This has been one of my big things when I start seeing people getting censored. It's like, did they violate the rules? Well, if you look at the rules and you actually start reading these terms of service, I remember when the Apple TOS was less than 100 pages. Because I remember I got up to about page 38 and I'm reading this. And again, I am not an attorney. I just took a business law class in college. And I remember it basically saying, you has no rights, you has no rights, you has no rights, we reserve all the rights, you has no rights. So at least from that business law class, I'm like, oh, well, this sounds like quite an unconscionable contract. And the way, according to my recollection from school, that worked is if somebody was to bring that before a judge or something, and that was truly an unconscionable piece, what the judge would do is, in that particular instance there, they may actually throw out that particular part of the contract. They're not going to throw out the whole thing, because part of the Constitution is you have the right to contract. So if they throw out that particular piece, that may actually set precedent and actually update in some way how the company would have to handle the terms of service. But again, I understand why they do this because, well, even my old man, Mr. Memes, he practiced law for like 50 years. And even he said more recently, too many lawyers.
Well, it's funny you
I did just what he told me.
It's funny you actually bring that up because I have recently made the argument when regards to social media platforms. The smartest of all of them is actually Twitter because they explicitly state, yeah, we can suspend or terminate your account for whatever reason we feel necessary, and we don't have to give you an explanation. You're agreeing to it. They can do whatever the hell they want. They don't have to tell you why.
Right. And I sit back, and I'm like, okay, we have all this data. We can literally tell how long somebody is looking at this or that. I'm like, does anybody have the data on how long people actually like look at the terms of services? Because I remember at least Microsoft back in the day for some things, you at least had to scroll through to the bottom and click I acknowledge. So I thought that was actually kind of cool because it's like, all right, you at least have to scroll through this. Maybe you didn't read it, but I'm just like, at what point if you happen to have data that says, what's the percentage of people that actually read this? Now, as far as Twitter goes, I know Jack Dorsey read it. I mean, he's their CEO. He kind of has to. But what percentage of the user base has actually read through the entire terms of service?
I'll bet you $5 right now it's less than 10%.
Yeah.
I am almost willing to suggest, and again, this is just a guess, it's probably far less than 1% that have actually read through the 100+ page terms of service or whatnot. Twitter might be less than that.
But you know me, I'm not necessarily a betting man, so I'm hedging my bets towards the winning side. But you're probably right. It's probably less than 1%.
I was going to say, if you actually have data, how small a percentage does it come to the point where it's like, well, if the vast majority of people aren't even reading this, and even if folks want to read it, how many folks actually really understand? Unless maybe you have like a law degree or something, somebody like Candy here. It's like, how many people actually know what's going on? It's like, and this is why I tend to be of the mind, it's like, if you could boil it down to like 10 pages and not be necessarily full legalese, I think folks would be a lot more open to that because now you're actually explaining things. Now, that was not my intention, Dr. Bollocks. I apologize. Wait, what'd I do?
He did not culturally appropriate anything. He paid for this. He chose to do this of his own choice. He gets no one feels sorry for him. And we're talking about you smoking, mate.
I know. I apologize. Oh, I realize. Oh, God. I'm sorry, Jensen. I'm a terrible person. I should have been off camera. All right, I'll hide.
Shut your noise. Stop it, sir. All right. So.
Oh,
go on.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do a thing, Jensen, just because.
That's good, dude. Last time you did a thing, you had to fit it in.
I like to end where we start, and I know we're coming up on the 2-hour mark, so why not end where we start?
Okay.
Just because this is funny to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, awful that Biden is getting vaccines distributed, bringing the economy back from chaos. Every Dem needs to do this after a Republican leaves office. And clamping down on Russian hackers. No wonder Trumpsters are irked. Where do I begin with this? So, Operation Warp Speed, the vaccine development program that Donald Trump put in place, those vaccines.
How dare you distribute the Trump vaccine?
and I find this funny because we were distributing vaccines while Trump was still in office, and we're still distributing vaccines now that Biden is in office. Now, the whole knocking on door-to-door things, and this is my opinion, so I'll preface this with this is my opinion. Absolute waste of time and resources. You're not distributing anything. This is just.
I get the generalized logos. The reason why they're doing it, mimetically, it looks freaking terrible. It's like, wait, you're sending government agents door to door asking, "Have you had your shots?" Don't rub a lot of people the right way.
and that's the thing. I'm not even going to get into whether or not this is a HIPAA violation. I would actually like to know if they do. Emphasis on the word if they do have a list of individuals who have or have not received their vaccine, I'd like to know where they got it, because then that is indeed a HIPAA violation. I believe what the Biden administration is doing is just blindly knocking on every door they possibly can just to see, because they want to distribute information, make sure people aren't misinformed or ill-informed. Not like it's not like it hasn't been the topic of conversation for God knows how long now. So, like I said, waste of time and resources that could be better spent elsewhere.
If you were going to do something like this, well, it's not like we had government agents coming around last year to basically every household in the country to try to communicate, and maybe we could have done something like that then, be like, hey, listen, would you like to register for the Operation Warp Speed vaccine or something like that? It's like, or at least be able to gauge the level of interest in the folks and maybe pre-register. I don't know.
So before I touch on the second point that Dr. Harpine made, I will be respectful. Dr. Harpine.
Coward.
Jensen will not, but it shouldn't come as a shock to anybody. The second one, clamping down on Russian hackers. You mean giving Russia a list of 16 things that are supposed to be off limits, while we completely ignore the fact that the majority of hacking attempts and DDoS attacks and all sorts of other cyber warfare actually comes out of China, not Russia. And oh, by the way, it's not the Russian government doing this. It's usually a third party or parties that are not associated with the Russian government, which, oh, by the way, we also do the same thing to them too. So I'm not sure why people think the Biden administration's clamping down on Russian hackers. It's not like they managed to shut down a meat processing plant and a pipeline, and I don't know. Yeah, we're definitely clamping down. Yeah, sure.
Oh my
whatever.
God, Rachel Maddow was right.
Funny you bring up Rachel Maddow memes. I actually involved her in one of my previous responses to Dr. Harpine. But the second point is one that, what's the saying Sinatra says uses? Activates my almonds, percolates my pistachios. Bringing the economy back from chaos. Well, I'm not going to explain the broken window fallacy in detail, but I'll just say, when you break a window and hire someone to make a new window so that you can replace the broken window, you're not adding anything to the economy. You're taking away from it, because when you could have had two windows, one's broken, the other now has to get replaced. Shouldn't have happened to begin with. That's the same thing as saying, oh, we're bringing back jobs. No, you mean jobs that were shut down, where people lost their jobs or they're now going back to work. That's not job creation. That's just people going back to work. That's the broken window fallacy. That's stupid. But the point I would actually like to or what I would like to point out more, who shut down the economy, causing the economy to slow down and go into a recession? Let's be blunt. It was a recession. If it lasted any longer, it could have easily become a depression. It wasn't Trump that shut down the economy. The people that did were largely blue cities, largely Democrats, and they didn't shut down these large multinational corporations that operate globally, big box stores, things like that, that are CEOs or multi-billionaires, people you claim you want to tax. Mom and pop shops went out of business, ones that you explicitly said were not allowed to open, but Walmart, perfectly fine. But Trump's not the one that did that. As a matter of fact, I believe when he tried to limit travel, you guys were talking about running around and go hit the town and go to the cinema and join us in Chinatown, and shutting down travel from certain locations was xenophobic, thus resulting in people doing exactly what you said. And if I'm going to use what the Democrats assert here, cause the virus to spread uncontrollably and would potentially overwhelm the hospital system. If that was your primary concern to begin with, why are you encouraging people to go to the cinema? Why are you encouraging them to visit Chinatown, hit the town? Why weren't you in favor of shutting down travel and maybe actually just trying to slow the spread so that the healthcare system didn't get overwhelmed? Why didn't you utilize the UNS Mercy and Comfort when Trump deployed them to LA and New York, if you were going to be overwhelmed. But sure, Trump is the reason the economy shut down. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to anybody who's not paying attention. So,
well, Doku, see, here's the thing. They were against it before they were for it.
Yeah, they were against it, and then all of a sudden they still blame Trump for shutting down the economy when they were the ones that did it, and arguably it was their policies that led to said shutdown because now the virus is spreading. So
I sit back, and to be fair, President Trump did suggest 14 days to slow the spread, and about 14 or so months later, at least in the Commonwealth, yeah, then we kind of started to open back up again.
Oh, and I'm not saying that shutting down was going to slow the spread regardless. I don't think it was going to really make that much of a difference because, well, we were never overwhelmed. I think that was more just capitulation.
There were places that were getting dangerously close to capacity, but I believe it was President Trump that said that anybody, at least in these United States, that did need a ventilator had access to a ventilator.
Oh, yeah, I believe he did put that policy in place, trying to be honest, building a lot of ventilators that we actually ended up not needing, which arguably could have led to some of the economic slowdown that we had. So that actually might be a valid point as to why the economy slowed down, shifting production from one thing to something we don't need to now having to waste resources to shift production back to something we do. That could very well be an aspect as to some of the economic damage to the supply chain that was done. I don't think it comes close to flat out shutting down the economy for several months, but I'm sure it contributed.
My opinion, and again, I realize it's very complex. Sorry to cut you off, Jensen, is there's been such horrific mismanagement of this, and the sheer fact that it really seems that a lot of this was political, and the sheer fact we're going to politicize literally a national emergency because of reasons. And yes, I understand it's an election year and everything, but like you were kind of just laying out, I still remember when folks, what was it Mayor de Blasio was like, no, go out and party, and Speaker Pelosi was like, no, that's racist and everything. I'm like, with all due respect, are you saying that because you don't think this is a big deal, or are you saying this because it happens to be the opposite of what the individual that happens to be in the top office is saying at the time? And then as soon as he's like, well, we need to get back open, we need to do this is what bothers me. And again, I don't have all the updates and everything. All I know is, just as some dude on the internet, I totally interviewed a young Filipina living in Hong Kong back in mid-February, and what Ludo had described to me about how one of her friends ended up contracting COVID, and they ended up contact tracing it back to her boss, who happened to just be in closer proximity, which at least would, in my opinion, again, I'm not a doctor virologist, seem to support initial reports that perhaps it happens to be airborne, that basically we could have blunted a lot of this by saying, listen, we can't make you do this. To do this would essentially be unconstitutional, but we must ask you now to do something for your country. Please, if you're going to be in an area where there's a bunch of folks around, put some type of a face covering, a scarf, a mask, or something like that out. And rather than say, don't use a mask, masks aren't going to do everything. I'm like, I talked to some person in February that was providing evidence. What were they doing over there? They were masking up. They were wearing like goggles, gloves, this, that, and the other thing. And for Hong Kong, which has, I don't know, what, like 10 million people, 20 million people, extremely high population density, they limited their spread greatly. I'm like, why do I hear about this in mid-February, and then a month or so later, we got individuals from literally our own CDC saying, don't do this? In my opinion, if there were doctors that had plausible thoughts that, if there's a respiratory disease going around that may potentially be spread by this, and we're going to tell them not to do this, in my opinion, they should probably lose their medical license.
Mm-hmm.
MC, when you said that it was primarily a political tool rather than a concern about public health and safety, you're 100% correct. It was done for political purposes. That is
These are some of the reasons why I'm feeling that we should bring capital punishment to white collar crime. Again, it needs to be specified, but certain things like this, where if you're putting out public policy and you have reason to believe that this may cause more people to literally die, I think there might be an argument for involuntary manslaughter there. I'm just saying.
I say personally that we should nail them all up, crucify them. I say it'll do them the world of good.
Jensen, we need due process. I happen to also believe perhaps we should bring back public execution. And if people are lying, well, back in the day on the playground, we had a motto for that: liar, liar, pants on fire. And again, probably a terrible idea, but I'm entertaining the idea of, what if we were to secure individuals, douse their trousers in petroleum, and light them up? Genital immolation. I think that might be a deterrent for people lying.
But wouldn't that sort of burn down pretty much most of the politicians? I'm not saying
no. I mean, we're not just going to randomly do that. You're going to need to have overwhelming evidence and prove beyond a reason, or maybe even a shadow of a doubt, if we're going to do something that savage. We would also need to update the Eighth Amendment about that cruel and unusual punishment, because that's totally a cruel and unusual punishment.
Hey, I've said before, and I know people don't like it, but seriously, rewrite the First Amendment and the Fourth Amendment. It needs to be tweaked. I'm not doing a repeal, okay? Don't worry. I realize I'm talking to the Americans and suggesting repealing is bad. No. Just rewrite certain sections of that, and a lot of the problems that we are dealing with are basically going to go away very suddenly, because people are also going to go away suddenly.
MC says boiling sugar water.
Yeah, and my answer to that is napalm. Screw sugar water, though sugar water has its advantages. Makes people taste nice and sweet.
Also, I'm gonna pull this up, not because I'm really being terribly cheeky about this. I just noticed it and I find it funny, and I'm not doing this maliciously or yeah. Don't harass people, guys. Don't do any of that. But I like how Dr. Harpine has he, him, and then hey you. I like that. That's actually really funny.
I actually respond to all of those.
No, I like the hey you at the end. That's actually really amusing. I legitimately do find that funny.
Dude, here's the thing. I realize that a lot of folks view it as, oh, we're drawing lines, but all I know is when I popped into some of these different chats and stuff the other day, and especially if somebody happens behind an avatar or something, and I'm like, wait, how do I actually address these people? Oh crap! I wish I had access to their pronouns so I could properly address them, because otherwise I was getting confused. So I feel part of that is just kind of like via the internet and just being able to have easier conversations. I don't know.
I don't care about the pronoun thing really. I mean, I still think I still find putting pronouns in your bio is kind of cringy. But do I really care that much? Not really. But when I see things like "Hey, you," like that gives me a chuckle. That actually makes me laugh.
That adds levity to it and everything. And it's like and again, I think a lot of the stuff is, people don't like being preached to. If you're trying to force something down somebody's throat, it's like, of course, you're very often going to get a very negative response. Whereas if you're just casually doing it, that happens to be kind of the thing that other people are doing, if someone chooses to do that, cool.
Fair. Right. We've been going for 2 hours now, so I'm going to do has anybody got any final words they wish to say? I will start with memes.
Oh, final words?
Yes.
Well, let me see.
Have a think
I've
about
got a lovely bunch of coconuts, diddly dump. Here they all are standing in a row. Big ones, small ones, some as big as your head. That's all I got.
Okay. Doku, your turn. If you got a follow on from that, I'll be impressed.
I need somebody to start a GoFundMe so I can get a ballpoint hammer after what Memes just said.
Okie dokie.
Need a way to crack those nuts.
That's just so painful sounding. And my final one is meth bananas. Goodbye, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming out and listening to the absolute gibberish we've been talking about. It's been entertaining, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everyone.
Be careful of the squirrel.